So after doing the prep with purpose work in the gym, we're going to transfer now over to doing some upright sprinting and a wee bit of change of direction as well, just to give you an insight as to how I would start to include that, both in a controlled setting, as in out here on the pitch, trying to improve my ability to change direction. I'll transfer that into my skills work. So a large amount of the time, like the way I play, I will line a man up 1v1, or I'll be trying to take players on, so I need to be able to transfer that skill onto the pitch when I have the ball in my hands to create space for myself. So we'll start with the upright running. We're just going to warm up. So we're going to do some dribble runs. Is this really going to make me faster? Not directly, but indirectly. It'll help me to feel the postures and positions I like that of upright sprinting, so I can then feel what it feels like to be in those positions and then replicate that when I do start to open out. So again, we're just flat foot contact, stiffen the floor, knee in front of the body. Again, going about 50%. Walk back, we can loosen out. You can still include different warm-up exercises that you feel like you want to do. It could be like leg swings, karate kicks, opening out the hips, lunge with rotation, different things, but I feel pretty ready to go after doing the prep session. I mentioned in the gym, my right side can be quite sinky when I'm hitting the floor, so all I'm going to do now, introduce a constraint that's going to force me to be stiff through that right side of my body. So I'm going to lift the arm up. So as soon as I bring that right arm up, straight away I can feel that stiffness through that side of the body, and I feel a lot more springy off the floor, and I'm hitting it with a bit more intent and recovering the leg faster off the floor, which is key. So the last thing we want is when we hit the floor to, like if you're passive when you hit the floor initially, you're going to have to make up for that lack of force by pushing into the floor. Suddenly then, you're not recovering your leg or your foot as fast off the floor, dragging behind you, your pelvis is spilling forward, and you end up running like this, legs behind the body. Hamstrings end up in unfavourable positions, quads end up in unfavourable positions, calves, in overdrive because it's having to push into the floor. And some people could end up with a hamstring strain, some will end up with a quad strain, some will end up with a calf strain, Achilles tendinopathy. Different things like this can arise from how you're actually moving, and that's why we introduce these kind of drills, to improve that and bridge the gap. So I'm going to go into some scissors now. Again, this was even more evident for me when I was doing scissors. This side was weak and it wasn't attacking the floor with that intent. So we want to create that stiffness. Arm comes up, break into a dribble. Come on, keep up, man. Going at about 2 meters per second. Now, yeah, so just introducing these things into your warm-ups, and this is what when I talked down there about weaponize your warm-ups, actually have intent with your warm-ups. Like, what are you trying to improve in your movement strategy? You can make so many changes over a period of 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. If you're consistently putting things like this into your warm-up, improving how your trunk stiffness, improving your hip stiffness, your pelvic stability as you move, being nice and stiff when you hit the floor with the foot as well. Even in a team setting, when you're going through a warm-up, like typically there would be things like this in dribble runs, change the directions where you're trying to get the leg across the body. You can replicate those yourself in that session without someone having to tell you to do it. So we'll go another rep of that. We can also have the sled with me, but I'm not using it today. Like if you're doing an isolated session on your own, you can bring a sled, put it around you, or you can do a band, someone holding you. Straight away that forces me to have tall hips, and it doesn't allow me to sink down into the floor when that's around me. Arms above the head. And I'm starting to replicate those positions, build capacity in those positions with running, with sprinting, with change of direction, and that can all add up. So we'll go with the rep this time. Take the arms out of it. Again, challenging my pelvic stability, challenging my ability to be stiff into the floor. And straight away I can feel that like trunk wanting to sway and wanting to laterally flex. And it's trying to just be as stiff as you can there and strike the floor with that intent. So if we just want to break down the dribble position, we talk about dribble over ankle, which is down here. Again, just training that ability to put force in the floor. It's like stepping over an ankle, foot neutral, strike with intent. Dribble over the shins, you're going a wee bit higher. So it's, and then dribble over knees. Now we're trying to get up into that really upright position. cycling over the knees, being stiff into the floor again, stiff the hips nice and tall. I will go hands above the head this time, so we can be nice and long. And this time I'm just going to try and put a wee bit more juice into it, so we'll get a wee bit faster, actually start to cover ground forward. Just practice me swinging in case I'm called up for the Larry Maher. Throwing a bit of Medball throws too. So for this, trying to get that triple extension, explode the ball up as high as I possibly can into the air. Extend at the hips, extend at the ankles. Key with this is just maximal intent. To prime the nervous system a wee bit before we go into some max efforts. This feels nasty. Balls around Dennis Gillen. Show a wee bit of prep, sure what I would do for change of direction as well. A backwards crossover step. There's again another exercise or movement that we can start to introduce back onto the pitch in terms of our ability to move laterally. Again, we're going with the stick above the head to create that trunk stiffness. I'm just going to move. Oh. Take the pitch clean up. But what you can see I'm trying to do there again, replicate what I talked about in the gym. As I come across, can I use this leg to decelerate so that all this leg has to do is jab me out of that and I can get out of the hole quicker. So it's like, if you're someone who has groin issues, this can be a key piece of the puzzle. So get this. The key thing with this leg, or the inside leg, is can you get it directing in the direction that you want to go? So I want to go that way, so as I come across, can I drop the hips and get this shin going that way? And then we're thinking about, say if it's a 90-degree cut, I'm thinking coming across, jab, but I want to follow that jab step up with an acceleration in the ground. So I'm not coming here to reach here. I'm hitting the ground with force here, which gives me the space to get this leg back through and actually strike down below my hips to go, so I can power on through. If you see the difference, so I'm preparing with this jab step, I'm preparing the position to be able to strike down into the floor under the hips. Whereas if I'm just jabbing weak and I'm reaching, it's not a powerful position and I'm going to go nowhere. So I'm just going to try and raise the intensity a wee bit here. We've done our scissors, done our dribbles, and now I'm going to just start to try and increase the intensity, increase the range that I'm moving at, the speed that I'm moving at, the force that I'm putting through the floor, and build it up gradually. So again, I'm going to start with the dribble, bleed it in nicely. Again, just at about 70%. The key thing with this is, in season, it's really about minimal effective dosage. So getting your speed work in is so important. Simply, like even just for a vaccine for the hamstrings, you know, it's been proven that 1 weekly speed exposure at least will reduce your risk of hamstring injury, because you're exposing them hamstrings to those forces and speeds in a controlled environment, so that when you're exposed to them in a chaotic environment like a game, they've actually handled that load, they've been through it, and they're a bit more robust. Problems arise when you haven't hit your max speed in 6 months, and I see it a lot with players coming back from injury. It's like, oh, you're back, you know, you're strong in the gym, you're feeling good in the pitch, but you haven't done max velocity, like with real intent. The first ball they do in a game with chaos, where they're actually chasing a man and they're in unfavourable positions that they haven't been exposed to, the hamstring pings. And it's like, you can do all the work you want in the world, on positions, on strength, on everything, but if you haven't been exposed to those speeds, like, you're in trouble. For me in season at the minute, you're trying to get that balance. So games every week, you're sore, you're stiff going into Tuesday. You know, you could even still be sometimes fatigued and sore going into Thursday. So it's trying to get it in somewhere in your week at least once. Get 2, 3, 4 exposures. And one, it helps you to keep you know, it ensures that your top speed is not decreasing in season, which can happen if you haven't been exposed to it. I think it's, you know, if you're not exposed to speed within 5 days, it can start to diminish. So once a week, getting the wickets in, or the dribbles in, the scissors in, feeling those plastering positions, and then getting exposed to 90 to 100, between 90 to 100% of your max speed, helps you to feel sharp and feel fast, and keep your speed where you want it to be, but also reducing your risk of picking up hamstring injuries. So I'm going to go with a bit more intent on this one to go forwards. So a lot of the time what can happen when you're doing dribbles and wickets, you're getting into these nice upright positions, which looks all well and good, and it's improving how you move, but you're not really going anywhere fast. You're lacking that true hip extension to go forwards. So I want to pair this together now with, yes, I want to be nice and upright and put force into the floor, but I want to go forwards as well, and I want to utilise that hip extension that I have. So I'm going to just go into it. And obviously I had a game on Sunday. I hit 8.9 meters per second in the game, chasing back after we lost the ball. So typically that's what happens in games. You don't tend to hit your top speed going forward, it's usually going back when you're chasing. And that's why you have to be exposed to these things in training, in isolation. But I do, the game at the weekend was very high intense. There was a lot of turnovers. A lot of the times we were caught chasing the ball at 100% intent, and that's why the hamstring feels a lot groggier, even just achy over the last couple of days, because it was exposed to like top speeds and chaos. Like, I find I'm not too bad when I'm doing it in controlled setting, but once I go into a game and I'm taking someone on at 100% of my max intent, that's when I start to feel a wee bit of pain, and that kind of highlights again why I think it probably is a bit more like medial hamstring or lateral hamstring, which is causing the issue. But I'll go into another exposure here. Again, this is kind of the volume that you need to work before training. It doesn't need to be much at all. Like, I've done what, 4 or 5 runs there. I've did the dribbles and the scissors. I've built up the intensity, and now I'm up. I'll try and get to about 90% here and just float through and get that exposure to top end speed. If it was feeling really fresh, I'd probably try and get another 1 or 2 in and get a wee bit more exposure and actually go 100%. But it doesn't always have to be that way. You can still work in the postures and the positions, the rhythm, the timing at 90% and get a lot from it. The other thing I'll say with speed work is, yes, it's good getting these exposures in on your own before training consistently, but another layer towards that as you progress and as you get more comfortable with those speeds is starting to bring in something that's going to bring huge intent to the effort. So a lot of the time that's going to be a competitor or someone to run against, bringing in races like Theo there. I'd be away home and he'd still be running, and that creates a bit more. It creates that intent that's needed to hit those higher speeds. So I always find I run faster when I have someone beside me to run against, and it also exposes you to positions that aren't as favourable or as, I don't know, optimal as they would say for sprinting. But again, we're not trying to achieve optimal. Like, we know when we go out onto the pitch on a game day, you're not going to be running this perfect position all the time. You have to be exposed. You want to be exposed to that upright running and creating capacity there, so you can start to move closer towards that on a pitch. But you also want to be exposed to those unfavourable positions and maybe running a bit more backside, running when your trunk's maybe all over the place. It's going to happen in games, so at least if you expose yourself to that in training with competition, with intent, 1, you're going to improve your speed, but 2, you're going to get exposure to all different kinds of positions, which is fine. You just don't want to be exposed to that all of the time and overload your tissues and end up with an injury. That's why it's graded exposure, and that's why the control setting first is important. What can happen, I find, in club settings is, like, nobody's been exposed to speed work, and the coach thinks it's a great idea to do a race at the end of a training session or a race at the start, and no one's been exposed to high speeds, and 2 or 3 boys pull their hamstring, and it's like, yeah, I suppose the education piece is important, but if you have exposed yourself to a controlled environment in terms of speed on your own before training for weeks and weeks, and then they they start dogging you in training, they start doing races and training, at least you've had some exposure and you're probably going to be a bit more robust than those around you. I'm literally just working on my ability to get my feet across, get that inside leg across, jab and that, get the inside leg. So the focus is always on how can I use both legs, how can I jab and be stiff on both. It's quite a low level movement, but it's a good one to bridge the gap. And we can just work through that a couple of times. Even go back this way. So we're just going to work on a bit of change direction with the ball. It's called the option step. So I'm jumping over the pole and I'm spreading the legs. So when you create that triangle shape with your legs, I can go one of two ways. When I'm here, I'm having to shuffle my feet to go, but when I'm here, when I land, I can go right or I can go left. You know, so if we're working on that in the gym and we're strong, we should have the confidence to step off either side. And if you face a man up, square him up 1v1 and he's square on with you, he doesn't know which way you're going to go. You can go right, you can go left. Whereas if I'm coming up to the defender and I'm like this, I mean, it's going to be very difficult for me to get back there and get that side of him. So he's going to show me this side and it's going to be quite easy to defend. Again, I'm not doing it with a massive amount of intent, but you can layer up or down the intent as you start to improve at it. So the next challenge after that would be creating a bit of decision making alongside the skill. So challenge my ability to perform the skill with little time to think. It's like a defender. It's like if I go to beat a defender and he makes a decision at the last second and I have to react and go the other way. It's a similar thing. So Theo was going to call a colour as I'm in the air and I have to react and go that direction.
What?
Oh lad, you shouted way too late. Fuck me.
You need to watch it in real time rather than the screen.
Blew it. I just had to guess, like I was like, fuck it.
Right.
Probably a bit early. Get it, try and see just before I hit the floor.
Look.
It's fucking late. New videographer needed.
Now I'm panicking. I'm going to lose my job.
Red. The last call was
Spot on. Just took 7 calls to get there. So we're back in the gym. It's been a long enough day, so I'm literally just going to finish off with a few strength movements to cover the key areas around the lower body that I want to target and strengthen. So typically it's something that I've talked about before, but you kind of want to go with a high-low model. So keep your high days high, keep your low days low, and it's something that was kind of developed, or I don't know, kind of was probably the first person to think of it, but Charlie Francis, and he has a full book on it. So you want to keep your like highly CNS demanding activities within the same day, which frees up another day to fully recover and reset. A lot of the time you can get caught in that kind of middle zone of every day being like medium to high and creating this low level kind of fatigue. So like you could do full body strength one day, pitch session the next day with speed, then you're doing gym again, and then you're in the pitch again, and you're just every day is something. Whereas if you could double up and do speed training and gym in the same day, another day can be freed up for full recovery and give you more time to get the body right again for the next session. It's not always easy to get that in. I understand that, and not everyone will have a gym at the pitch. So it's something that if you have it at your disposal and it's achievable for you to kind of do it that way, then it's a good option. So today I've obviously done speed, done a bit of skills. I did my prep work before, and I'm going to do a bit of strength work now because we train on Friday night, and tomorrow I can take a lower day, basically a day off, do a bit of mobility maybe, and hopefully the body then feels better going into Friday night session. Whereas if I move this strength work to tomorrow, I'm already going into that sore from today and doing speed. I'm going into Friday night then with even more fatigue, and it just kind of snowballs and you're never really feeling good, or you're never really feeling fresh. So we'll go after it now. The key areas I'm going to target is really the hamstring, obviously because of the tendinopathy. bit of groin, bit of lower core, maybe a bit of calves and a bit of quads, and literally just like one exercise for each and get a couple of sets in. Let's go. So I got 2 sets of this in earlier, so even just one now probably helps. So going for like a 4-second push. Turn the foot out. Turn the foot in. Three reps on each side. 4 to 5 second push. Max intent. Really just working on that hip flexor and lower core region. Single leg, bringing it through length, and then bringing it back up to the top. So again, I'm just trying to create a lot of length at the front of the hip. And then the Medball's allowing me to overload that a wee bit. And then I'm just going to try and challenge it a wee bit more, bringing in some rotation. On the pitch, we're going to be rotating quite a bit. So we want to, again, explore those positions, explore different movements and get exposure to them, build capacity in different ranges. Oh, it's a nice one. Go this side. This side is typically weaker for me from the groin issues. When my right hip's in flexion, sometimes can get a bit of pain. Again, it's something you need to expose yourself to. A wee pinch there. It's rotation. Oh, that's us for that. Right, I think my social battery's drained. I'm going to speak. I'm like, I can't speak. Where do we go now? We go. I don't know why they do another. Huh? No, I need to lose some muscle mass in the upper body. That's the other thing, I suppose. Huh?
Wait, say that to the camera. I'm gonna give you shit in the comments.
Guys, just, you know what I mean? Like GAA is becoming a more running based sport. Probably don't need to be like 96, 97 kilos to get around, you know, you have to get around the pitch. So over the next couple of weeks leading championship, I'm going to try and get down another probably 1 to 2 kg, see how it goes. I'll not be reducing things drastically, so I'll be cutting calories back a wee bit and just trimming literally just body fat, keeping strength levels where they are, because that can be sometimes what happens. Like if you start trimming just weight aggressively, your strength goes down and you don't actually feel any better on the pitch, you actually feel worse. That was what happened last year when I was in Bali. Lost weight quite quickly. The food was just so clean and I didn't really know what calories I was eating, and I felt weak and I didn't feel powerful on the pitch, so trying to find that balance. Single leg med ball curl, so I'm trying to just, again, curl the ball in but then also get the calf involved at the end. It's quite an intense movement this, so it can cause cramping. You start with the heel on the ball in the long lever position, then you curl in, trying to use those hamstrings and then that calf, squeeze at the top. Eccentric, control the eccentric back out as much as you can. Feel that one tomorrow. So this is literally just an overcoming half lunge isometric. So you're just literally going in that lunge position, rib cage down, glute engaged, nice and tall again. Big toe stays on the floor, and I'm just literally trying to drive the inside of this knee into the rack and get an isometric on that adductor. 5 second push, three reps on each side. And like isometrics are so valuable because you're not putting the tissues through that like eccentric load, which can cause DOMs. So I'm getting load, I'm getting strength work in on the adductor without the worry of being sore tomorrow. You counting?
Yeah.
How long have we done?
10.
It's funny, like if I was counting that myself, I'd be done at 7. I'd be like, that's 10, 10, 9, 8, 7. Whereas when
Seconds go just a bit quicker.
yeah, and that's why I say when I'm doing the real heavy overcoming work for 3 seconds, aim for 5. It's likely going to be 3, and the research does say that it needs to be a 3-second minimum. So if you aim for 3, you're not doing 3. Like 3, 2, 1, go. So that one's kind of working. I'm trying to like manipulate my trunk position to target the proximal hamstring. So I'm getting a nice bit of activation in there, like isometric. Gently trying to introduce back in some hinge patterns, as a lot of my loading has been at like a wee bit of hip flexion, but a lot of just like long lever full hip extension. So I want to try and get familiar with those positions again, because it's your hinge that's going to put the most load and compression on that proximal tendon. It hasn't felt good for a long time, so now that it's feeling a wee bit better, I want to start loading it a wee bit more. So that one there, I get a wee bit of a hinge in, and then I'm pulling there and it's getting a wee bit of a different stimulus in, and I'm like trying to drive down into the floor with that front leg, which is getting some quad activation as well without causing much fatigue.
What are you doing now?
I'm doing just to gain an isometric hold, yielding, trying to resist the force coming with a slight bend in the knee, just to load that patellar tendon. It's tight going though. 30 seconds. Switch legs. Don't think I can do any more of that one. It's not nice feeling. I'm absolutely Hank Marvin. What time did we come up here at?
10:30, just after. It's now 5:05.
You think I don't put in the graph for you? These are wrong. That's a long day of recording. These dates are going to run out. Don't want to touch them. Dirty hands.
Oh, that's the thumbnail.
10 minutes of energy. 20 minutes of energy. Sound of me eating's probably rotten. And that's a wrap for our speed and our strength session. Again, I like to just get those paired up, get them both done on the same day, get a decent stimulus in. There was nothing major really done in that strength work. Just again, as I mentioned before, like topping up on those key injury sites. Specifically for me, hamstring, calf, groin, lower abdominal as well. So a decent bit done. Training's on Friday, so we'll have tomorrow to rest and get the body right again. So if you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts, drop me a message again. It's hugely appreciated, and so far the feedback has been good, and it always helps, I suppose, in terms of giving me ideas for moving forward, as it's not that easy to consistently think about what you actually want, because it's one thing knowing what I want to record and what you actually want to see. So yeah, hopefully that was an enjoyable one. Stay tuned for the next, which will be coming next week, and like, subscribe, comment. Did I say that already? But do it again, because you probably didn't do it. I'd say you didn't do it. And I will see you in the next one. Good luck.